Then it comes down to, in the end, with the cutting the vegetables, like who cuts the vegetables? And there's nobody cutting vegetables, there's only cutting vegetables happening. You're the vegetables, you're the room, you're the sounds,
Mm.
and you're not doing it for anything. In the story, maybe you're doing it for dinner, but in the very moment, that's a story that's gone now. In the very moment of it, you're cutting it for nothing, which is
Mm.
God. And that is everywhere in all things. It's total surrender, so there's nothing inside and nothing outside. There's nobody greedily trying to get things for itself. There is
Mm.
only the divine everywhere, which is no thing and all things. So right now when we talk, who's talking? Who's looking at Lisa? Who's
Mm.
looking at Thomas? And there's nobody looking at Thomas. There is only looking which is not separate, or big awareness which is not separate. The awareness isn't, the awareness is Thomas's face. The awareness is Lisa's face. The awareness is the wall, the light, the space, apparent space, the
Yeah,
sounds.
it's beyond the fear and
Yeah.
yeah.
And this is the only mentality change in that is that the beingness, the pure awareness, the beingness cannot be disturbed. That is here no matter what. There is aliveness, there is presence, and there is perception. But when pain arises, then aversion arises. So then there is an energy which begins to kick it away, and as it begins to refuse the pain, it then begins to go into a story, because how else can you refuse something? Only in a
Mm.
story. So all we have is this moment, is this instant. So then if pain arises, the only way in which you can refuse it is you can't run to the future, you can't run to the past. You can only go into a daydream of avoiding this moment and dreaming of the future and dreaming of the past. So pain arises, the seeker comes up and begins to push it away, and then it feels like you lose beingness and awareness, but you don't lose them, they're still there. But there's just this zooming in on the seeking energy, which then extrapolates into a timeline of you.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
the
you begin
seeking
to think that
energy.
you've done something wrong to get the pain, that you're guilty, that
Mm.
why did you do this or why didn't you do that? And the way out of it, so it can be working mind, you can go and get pain relief, but the way out of it isn't actually through the pain relief, although I suggest people do go and get medical help. There's nothing wrong
Mm.
with
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But
Mm.
it's the way out of it is by yourself, which is the pure awareness and the beingness. It's not through time. And that has to be seen more and more till there's absolute conviction that every problem is solved by being yourself, not by a story in time. The mind is convinced, though, that freedom comes from time, from past and future. So then it begins to daydream, like if I had done it this way, and why did I do that? And I need to tell this person that, and do this and do that. And it then hooks you, and there's nothing there that won't give you what you're looking for, that will only create more problems.
Mm.
There's nobody there ultimately that can do anything, because the you is a movement in time. So the you
Yeah,
can't get back to the timelessness.
yeah.
But what is recommended to practice the I am practice, or practice investigation, who am I,
Okay.
where there is this returning back to the feeling of I am. So the first place in where identification comes from. So I am bad. I did something bad in order to experience pain. And it's saying
Mm.
just go back to the source before it goes, I am bad, the bad bit, just going back to the initial I am and staying close to the I am. Now that feels like a practice you're doing, but it's actually insanely intelligent, because actually, when there, it's a non activity. The activity is actually the thinking, the activity is actually the moving away from that. And then you've moved away from that, and then it feels like you move back to that. But that is not true. There isn't a you moving back to that.
So in I am is no activity.
In
Is that what?
it's seeming activity because you've seemingly left it, you seemingly move back, but then when you're there, it's non-activity
Okay.
because that's home. That is
Mm,
your natural state.
mm,
The activity, the lie, the doership comes from I am bad. So then you kind of like you go into I am bad and then you come back from I am bad to stillness. And then when in
mm,
stillness, that's non-activity. That's the
mm,
stopping, that Papaji spoke about the Ganguji where he said stop. And
mm,
then it feels like activity because then the mind goes, no, I'm bad. It feels
mm.
like an activity. And in a way, it's like the practice of it is not touching the mind, not touching. So it's actually a non-activity. It just feels to you that it's an activity,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
is an illusion.
yeah.
So that's what's
Mm,
suggested. And then if it's too painful, then the wise thing to do would be do some body work, some breathing, some mantra,
mm,
singing,
mm,
some
mm,
yeah, other forms of TRE, somatic body
mm,
work, anything
mm,
which brings you back into the body and like pulls all that energy out of the thinking mind.
mm,
Yoga.
mm.
Nice, thanks, Thomas. I'll give someone else some time now. Yeah, thank you.